Thank you. The agenda item we are discussing bears repeating at the outset of my remarks in view of the unfortunate interruption during this anti-racism meeting of attempts to discuss racism or xenophobia directed at Jews and the Jewish state. So the item reads as follows. Objective 2, to assess the effectiveness of the existing Durban follow-up mechanisms and other relevant United Nations mechanisms dealing with the issue of racism, xenophobia, and related intolerance. The UN Human Rights Council is a relevant mechanism. The effectiveness of the Council in dealing with xenophobia and related intolerance is a relevant issue. The assessment of the effectiveness of the Council is a relevant concern. Let us therefore consider the proposition of the Egyptian representative yesterday that the Anti-Israel Council resolutions reflect not gross and systematic discrimination against the Jewish state, exemplifying the anti-Semitism of our time, but the conscience of the international community. The majority of members of both the African and Asian regional groups on the Council are members of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, and these two regional groups, in turn, have a majority of seats on the Council, thus giving the OIC the balance of power. Council resolutions, as a result, reflect not the
I apologize for interrupting you. Madam, it seems to me that you are touching on a subject that is not included on the agenda. You seem to be wishing to raise a subject which interests you, but which does not comply with the subject matter before us today. Therefore, I would ask you, and I would draw your attention to the fact that I do not wish to interrupt you. I would therefore call upon you to address the points on the agenda. Item 2. Thank you.
I will address the objective 2 to assess the effectiveness of the existing Durban follow-up mechanisms and other relevant United Nations mechanisms, which include the UN Council on Human Rights, the chief UN human rights body. Council resolutions, as a result of the OIC membership, reflect not the conscience of the international community, but the predilections and particularities of the OIC. So the question is the Council effective at dealing with racism and xenophobia? Well, that depends on whether it is considered effective human rights protection to devote 3/4 of all condemnatory resolutions and decisions only to the Jewish state, while failing to condemn any rights violations by virtually every other state on the planet. Rank incompetence becomes anti-Semitism when the singling out of the Jewish state is grossly disproportionate to the treatment for similar or more egregious acts by other states, a test which the Council has passed in spades, and is direct contradiction of the UN Charter's promise of equality for all nations large and small, which is how you began this session in the first place. When UN members consider funding or participating in Durban II, therefore, the challenge presented by Egypt is quite appropriate. The key issue is one of respect. Would it not be wrong to respect a human rights body that promotes violations of human rights like the delegitimation of the self-determination of the Jewish people? Would it not be wrong to respect an anti-racism conference that gave voice to anti-Semites instead of the victims of anti-Semitism? Finally, 1/5 of all the interventions by all states in these proceedings have been made by the Egyptian representative alone, 75% of the time not on behalf of the African group. Trying to strangle has on the Council.
السيدة المتحدثة هناك نقطة نظام من الجمهورية العربية السورية.
A point of order from the Syrian Arab Republic, but before that, I would like to know if you have finished your speech. Madam, Speaking on behalf of the NGO, have you finished your speech?
As far as I understand, the speech was cut off from translation, so that I would prefer an opportunity to complete it with translation.
هناك نقطة نظام من الجمهورية العربية السورية.
A point of order from the Syrian Arab Republic. I will give you the floor after that point of order.
Actually, I made a point of order just to draw to the attention of the speaker that she is going outside the limits and the mandate of the agenda item we are discussing now. This is number one. Number two, it attracted my attention that the lady speaking on behalf on an NGO, I don't remember its name, she doesn't address the presidency in the conventional way. Whoever may be sitting on your chair, Madam President, I will address him in the conventional, polite way. So she is not saying thank you. At the same time, I noticed that the last part of her statement is a combination of insult to the Human Rights Council. And I don't think that we are here to distribute insults and to make diplomatic disruptions which might be conducive to one objective, which is the suspension of this process. If somebody or a state considers a cake to be not clean, I think it is the sovereign right of any state not to ask for a portion of that cake. So I cannot accept the way the discussion is going on, and we cannot accept this way of address which lacks, I would say, the least about it, which lacks the conventional, polite way of addressing the presidencies. Thank you.
شكرا للسيد الموقر.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Syrian Arab Republic. Before giving the floor back to the speaker who was delivering her speech, I would ask you, madam, if you intend to finish your speech, to again confine yourself to the agenda item that we are currently considering here. And I would stress that you are requested to speak about assessing the effectiveness of the existing mechanisms for the DDPA follow-up process. You have the floor again, madam.
Thank you. The distinguished representative of Algeria said yesterday, self-determination is a collective right. Zionism, realized in the State of Israel, is the collective right of the Jewish people to self-determination. The ineffective ability of the Human Rights Council to deal with the self-determination of the Jewish people, amounting to gross anti-Semitism, is a subject matter with which every member of this body ought to be concerned. So I ask you, the representative of South Africa said also yesterday, the NGOs who speak on behalf of victims are pivotal. We speak on behalf of the victims of anti-Semitism. And I have to ask, will you continue to silence our voice by continually interrupting, alleging procedural irregularities, or further encouraging points of order? Thank you.